Pakar ekonomi negara Malaysia puji kehebatan Presiden Prabowo yang berhasil melakukan negosiasi dengan Trump. Menurutnya, Presiden Prabowo memiliki keunggulan, menguasai bahasa asing, dan memiliki kehidupan di Eropa. Dia berpengalaman menghadapi Amerika dan Barat. Prabowo telah tunjukkan kepada dunia bahwa Indonesia adalah pemimpin ASEAN. Simak video lengkapnya.
Of course, you could see them, what a masterful negotiator Prabowo was. He praised Donald Trump. He was a tough negotiator.
Absolutely.
You know,
yes.
And the only thing he hasn't said is, he's also a very good-looking man, isn't he? No, but he certainly was as opposed to the Trump letter that we talked about the last time.
So
He's a truly accomplished diplomat.
a masterful negotiator.
Trump had also announced that he would put high tariffs on countries who are members of BRICS.
Yes.
If you look at Southeast Asia, only Indonesia is a member of BRICS. So only Indonesia had stepped boldly forward to take full membership.
Okay.
And was he punished? Clearly, he has not been punished. And this is because Indonesia is very important. But what has happened is he has preserved the principle of free trade. He has already done it with the Europeans, and now, as best as one could get free trade with the United States. And so, he has opened the way for ASEAN. There need not be a formal agreement on what the collective external economic policy is. We just follow Indonesia.
I get your initial thoughts on the US-Indonesia trade deal. What do you make of it? Do you think this is a good deal? Who came out on top, would you say?
I would say it is a case where both sides could announce victory, and quite convincing. And if you wish to really say who blinked first, I would say Trump blinked first.
Oh, really?
Rather than Prabowo. You must understand that when on April 9th, when Trump suspended his comprehensive tariffs on the entire world for 90 days, when they suspended for 90 days, he said, we'll have 90 deals in 90 days. And before the news 2 days ago about the Indonesia deal, he had only 3 deals in hand. One deal is the deal with Vietnam. The second one is a framework agreement with the United Kingdom, and another framework agreement with China. Not as specific as the one that Indonesia.
Okay.
So for someone who sells himself as the master of the steel when it comes to making deals, he doesn't have many deals to show. So he was very eager to bring to report more successes. That's number one. And Indonesia, for him, was a success on more than just getting a deal on trade. It's also a success in bringing Indonesia to what would be seen as within the U.S. circle of friends. Because you must understand that just before Prabowo spoke to Trump, a week before that, Mark Rubio, his Secretary of State, the Foreign Minister, was in Kuala Lumpur for the ASEAN meetings. He said something very revealing, which is that Southeast Asia will get a deal better than most other places in the world. He said that partly, of course, to have a present to give to his fellow foreign ministers. More importantly, his presence is to push ensure continued U.S. presence in the South China Sea. And he's in search of allies to support the U.S. position on the
Okay.
South China Sea, as opposed to oppose China. So when he said that we will be more relaxed, this is a paraphrase, of tariffs on this part of the world, he really meant it. And Trump really meant it. Which is, you must understand that in between Rubio's announcement that will be easier on this part of the world because we want you to be our friends, Trump had also announced that he would put high tariffs on countries who are members of BRICS.
Yes.
And that's why he put 50% on Brazil.
Right.
Even though Brazil was running, even though the United States was running a balance of payment surplus against Brazil. So he promised to impose tariffs on countries in BRICS.
Okay.
If you look at Southeast Asia, only Indonesia is a member of BRICS.
BRICS.
Malaysia
member.
is still observer status, hasn't applied for full membership. Thailand also observer status, has chosen not to apply for full membership.
Right.
So only Indonesia had stepped boldly forward to take full membership.
Okay.
And was he punished? Clearly, he has not been punished. And this is because Indonesia is very important. ASEAN is very important to the US calculation in confrontation with China. It definitely doesn't want ASEAN to be on the other side.
Okay.
Of the 70 million people living in ASEAN, 30 million of them live in Indonesia.
That's right.
And that is clearly the single most important country and the country with the highest economic potential in the future.
Okay.
So when I say Trump blink, it is not only because of the future economic importance of Indonesia, it's also the present geostrategic importance of Indonesia.
Sementara itu, menurut Profesor Wing Thye, Indonesia sebagai negara yang secara natural menjadi abang ASEAN telah berhasil memainkan perannya dalam menuntun negara-negara di kawasan ini. Oleh sebab itu, negara anggota ASEAN tidak perlu lagi maju satu persatu untuk menghadapi negara besar dalam melakukan negosiasi super rumit. Negara anggota ASEAN cukup bilang, saya dari Asia Tenggara, dan negara lain akan paham arah keputusan yang akan diambil dengan negara tersebut. Karena bagi banyak negara yang aktif dalam kancah perpolitikan dunia, kebijakan dari Indonesia dinilai cukup untuk memberi gambaran atau barometer bagaimana bernegosiasi dengan negara-negara di Asia Tenggara.
So you see this as kind of the direction of how U.S., China, Indonesia relations would be going forward. Can I ask you then what impression it leaves for the rest of the ASEAN countries? So when we look at how the Indonesian experience of this trade deal and the messages, the subliminal messages that have been sent by Trump and by Prabowo, what should countries like Malaysia take away from this entire negotiation process?
So very good, no higher than 19 now. That's what the first
That
thing
is
we
the
will have to
best.
say. Right?
That is the threshold.
No. So our meeting minister Tunku Saifru now has a metric of 19%.
Absolutely.
So the important thing is before he talked to Trump, he was in Brussels. And he also reached a deal with the Europeans.
Right.
And whereby he increased the market access of Indonesia in Europe. They settled up. You know that the Europeans have put on tariffs, if not outright ban, on palm oil from newly deforested areas.
Oh.
So if the palm oil comes from a newly deforested area, the Europeans would not buy it. I think they have come to an agreement on that feature. And that is good for Malaysia because that means palm oil is now we have got a metric of what the bargaining could be now. We have got a good standard. But what has happened is he has preserved the principle of free trade. He has really done it with the Europeans, and now, as best as one could get free trade with the United States. And so he has opened the way for ASEAN to be able to take the lead in protecting the global free trade system. And since Indonesia is a member of BRICS, they're going to have free trade with the BRICS countries as well. So it's truly multilateral. I think here is someone who understands the external world and will be a guiding force on the foreign economic policy of the ASEAN region.
Okay.
There need not be a formal agreement on what the collective external economic policy is. We just follow Indonesia.
The Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto, he said that Donald Trump was a tough negotiator in this deal. And this, I think, is quite interesting because of Trump's persona of being a deal maker. Talk to me about how you see this trade deal shaping the tone of how Prabowo would deal with the US. And I want to come back to what you mentioned about the US's circle of friends now expanding to include Indonesia. Indonesia seems to be in a quite precarious position, being close to China, being in BRICS, but now playing ball with the US over these tariff threats. How do you see this setting the tone for future relations and managing these spheres of influence?
Indonesia, I think, is leveraging its geostrategic weight to mobilize foreign concession to support its economic development. Basically, I'm not the business of saying who are my friends, who are my enemies. Everyone is my friend.
Okay.
And to deliberately say that I belong to one camp or the other camp is nonsensical, because on some issues I'm with one group, on other issues I'm not with a particular country. Like on Palestine, Indonesia is certainly on the other side from the United States, on the same side as China.
Right.
On the South China Sea, Indonesia is definitely on the US side and not on China's side. So he says, we look at our best interest and we take our sides accordingly. There is no blanket rejection. That is irrational. And Indonesia is particularly important for China and the United States, largely because Indonesia has always been the leader of ASEAN, but it's not a role that it has been able to play very much, because given the size of Indonesia, it is the natural abang. But it has never been played that role very well, largely because most Indonesian presidents, except for SBY, were not so interested in leading ASEAN because the leaders could not dominate the discussion. And why couldn't they dominate the discussion? Because they were not as fluent in English or as knowledgeable about foreign affairs. SBY was very fluent in English, but he didn't have much of an international background. Whereas Prabowo, he spent a lot of his youth studying abroad. Like, for example, he attended school here in Kuala Lumpur.
Yes.
And that was because his father was in virtual exile during the time. The father was a very prominent economist who was on the side that was pro-West and less pro-Sukarno. And so he had to go into exile. And as a result, Prabowo got a very international upbringing. He has lived in different countries, and he knows at least 2 European languages. So you could see that, and he has always had a geostrategic view of the world,
Right.
because he was a high member of the U.S. military when his father-in-law was president.
One last question from me that what I've been thinking of, based on some of the feedback or the chatter that's come out from this trade deal. There are those who say, why did Indonesia jump to finalize the deal so quickly? Because the August 1st deadline is still some ways away, a couple of weeks away, and being so few countries having finalized a deal, did Indonesia jump the gun in signing this agreement or in finalizing this deal when it should have maybe waited a little longer, a little closer to the deadline? What do you think about that? I mean, bearing in mind also the 90 deals in 90 days target, was in terms of timing, did Indonesia do this right in locking in a deal before the deadline?
Now, what is the characteristic of Donald Trump? He changes his mind every now and then. That means that he accepts the right of other people to change their minds. And if someone else get a better deal, Indonesia could go back. And given the importance of Indonesia, I think he'll be able to renegotiate a deal. In other words, like, hey, you have not been fair to me. You know, now I'll move closer to China since you have not shown friendship. But the fact is, Trump needs to report successful deals. And the pressure is more on him than on Prabowo to declare a deal.
Exactly.
And because of this pressure on Trump to perform, he has to, of course, you could see what a masterful negotiator Prabowo was. He praised Donald Trump. He was a tough negotiator.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes.
And the only thing he hasn't said is, he's also a very good-looking man, isn't he? But he certainly was as opposed to the Trump letter that we talked about the last time.
So
He's a truly accomplished diplomat.
a masterful negotiator.
Kalau kamu suka dengan pembahasan ini, jangan lupa tekan tombol like ya. Tulis juga pendapatmu di kolom komentar, aku selalu baca dan balas. Dan kalau belum subscribe, sekarang waktu yang tepat, biar kamu nggak ketinggalan konten menarik lainnya. Share juga ke temanmu, supaya kita bisa diskusi bareng. Sampai jumpa di video selanjutnya.